Hello and welcome back to another entertainment roundup. Yes, it's more than one. This is the midweek edition. I decided to do a little experiment on this series to break it up into this format way. Not let all the story be crammed up into one long video, especially when something new or something interesting have came to light. I want to talk about that because something did came to light. The situation with Disney, Sony, and Spider-Man, James Bond's new title, and just basically the state of 20th Century Fox and why I feel that Disney themselves aren't really doing 20th Century Fox any favor, especially when they're in so much debt and needs something, whether it's films or TV or both, to get them back on track, especially since they have lost so much financially over the past few years. So I want to talk about that as well. But I want to get to the Sony situation. I want to get to Spider-Man. I really do. I have, basically watched a lot of videos on this situation. I've seen many people basically asking to protest Sony. It has just been one big giant mess in terms of how this was being dealt with. And to be fair, I'm not really surprised, especially if you read how Spider-Man came to be in the hands of Disney, and how pretty much they shortchanged themselves just to get this film into how much they have basically shortchanged them just to get Spider-Man back into the fold of or get them in the fold of the MCU. And to me, if you want my opinion, the movies were done great. I have no problem with that, especially when we had the issues with the Amazing Spider-Man, and even more issues, more so with Amazing Spider-Man 2 than 1. Amazing Spider-Man 2 did a lot of the mistakes that they had done with Spider-Man 3, only worse. Yes, I consider Amazing Spider-Man 2 worse than Spider-Man 3. At least with that, it had a story that I was very interested in. Here, it was just a convoluted mess. But in any case, it was just to me, all this stuff was bound to happen because, one, Sony never wanted to work with Disney. If anything, they wanted to compete with Disney with their own cinematic universe, the Spideyverse. They had plans to do a Spideyverse with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and it never followed through. Again, it was just the backlash of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was so great that they actually canceled any future plans, or in this case, put it under the shelf till they can get back on track. They actually fired Andrew Garfield, which was something of a surprise to a lot of people. It was just a big mess. And here you have Disney coming out. Disney wanted to do something with the universe. They came across the agreement. But if you look at the actual agreement that was there, it was definitely one-sided. But again, I think Disney didn't care. They wanted to take care of it. And after they have established themselves and proven themselves to make the movie, I think they wanted to go back and actually renegotiate the contract. And I think in their own mind, they said that it will benefit both Sony and Disney if they come together and do a what reports are saying 50-50 split. Sony didn't see it that way. And I think I couldn't see. I'm not really shocked that they didn't see that way, because again, for Sony, this is their baby, this is their property, and they're not looking to give any kind of power to Disney or pretty much anything of the Disney for lots of reasons. One, Disney pretty much own almost every Marvel character, every last single one of them. Spider-Man, I believe, is the only one they don't own right now. That's how close of a monopoly they have with these characters. And two, they feel they don't have to make a deal. This is their property. Either do it the way they wanted to do it, or they're going to take their ball and go home. So this is the other thing that has been plaguing these two. They know that Disney wants these properties for them, for their universe. They know they want to take this property. They know the only way they're gonna get this property if Sony refused to make a Spider-Man film at a certain amount of time, which was the only reason why we got a Spider-Man. It was because the simple fact is that they almost lost it. If they hadn't made that film at that time frame, they would have lost the rights to make any other films. Period. So in many ways, the Amazing Spider-Man was just their own way to basically keep the property with themselves. And according to, if you look at the contract, it's pretty much they can have this property for life. That's how crazy how they have written up the rights for this film. But at the same time, it was a different animal back then when they got it. I mean, it was not sold for $100 million. That's for sure. It was sold for $7 million, and that was launched because Marvel was in a desperate state. I mean, we think about it. We may have had an era where Marvel did not any longer exist. That it was no longer this big company that they are now. Marvel was in serious trouble, and that's one of the reasons why you had these properties going to different areas. But at that same time, comic book movies was not considered serious. It was more bad comic book movies out there than good. We had it for every great Superman film. We had some terrible Superman film that followed. For every great Batman film, they had some poorly written Batman films to follow. It was not really taken seriously until pretty much Blade, really. So again, I think in many ways, this is the state that we are right now. Who knew that comic books movies would be this big? But at the same time, really, the one of the pioneers of the reason why it was big because Spider-Man people just love Spider-Man. They love to see a good Spider-Man story. Like I said, one of the best Spider-Man films wasn't even live action. It was actually the animated film that I saw with my daughter, called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was well written, well done. It was almost a perfect animation film. So hearing this basically doesn't shock me. Now, I seen the boycott Sony thing. I'm not doing that. Okay, let's get that real out of the way. I'm not doing it, and I don't want to do that. All right. Do I think that they are in the wrong? Honestly, from a business standpoint, no. Do I think Disney's in the wrong wrong? No, I don't. I think Disney has every reason to go back to the negotiation table, but I think they underestimated Sony's grip on Spider-Man and how much Sony really don't want to work with them, and how much the only reason why they did it is to buy themselves some time to get their act together, so they can actually come with their blueprint of making a Spideyverse. I think this is their way out. I think they got it, and that's why they took it. Now, does that mean that we may not see Spider-Man back in the Marvel Universe? Anything is possible. I mean, if there's enough uproar for both studios to get their heads out their ass and actually come together, I think it can happen. Knowing Sony, most likely not anytime soon. I think they don't have any reason to budge. But I don't feel that Sony's either in the wrong or even Disney is in the wrong. Disney have every right to go back in the table and say, hey, look, man, we've been forking up all this finance, and we're not really getting too much of the profit. Yeah, it's about money, but if you look at the of the agreement, which is kind of crazy, the Disney / the Marvel creative team was forking over 100% of the production costs. In return, Disney would have received 5% of the first dollar growth, or 5% of the first day of the ticket sales release. They maintained the merchandise rights for the characters, but Sony would recoup the rest of the box office haul. Think about that for a minute. Sony have not paid not one dime on production costs. They basically reaped the product, more so than Disney did. I can see why Disney want to go back to the production table. And again, one may ask, why would they agree to such a one-sided contract? Well, Disney wanted the character so bad. But their probably thinking was, okay, this is a bad contract, but whatever, let's just take it. We'll deal with it. We don't have to lose any merchandise rights. And once we're done with the first two films, We can go back to the negotiation table and try and get a better deal from there. If the film is a great success, how can Sony say no? Because it'll benefit them as well as benefit us. Obviously, Sony didn't feel that way. The article said, according to Dateline, Disney had received proposals, recently proposed a 50-50 co-financing deal, meaning that each company would put up half of the production cost and then split the profit. And Sony said no. So, with that being said, where do we go from here? Well, two things can happen. The outcry of this could be so great that Disney and Sony will have no choice but to go back to the negotiating table and work out some deal that will calm the nerves down, especially those who are fans of Spider-Man. Forget about the MCU, fans of Spider-Man. I think that will be the logical and probably most best option to this. And worst case scenario, Sony will pull Spider-Man away from the MCU, which so far from what we get in the reports, that's what's been going on. And we have a situation where pretty much they will do a standalone Spider-Man film that has nothing to do with this movie, basically effectively rebooting it again. My feeling on this is pretty much twofold. I can understand why the fans would be upset, because again, this is not just one film they did. This is a series of films, both from the Spider-Man movies that came out on the MCU, as well as Spider-Man appearance in the Avengers. There was a character development that happened. People have grown attached to the stories that happened, and for this to happen the way it is, for him to get pulled here, it will pretty much mean they cannot reference anything of the MCU, which basically will force Sony to basically start from scratch. This will also mean that there may be some casting change. Now, we already been told from neutral reports that Holland is actually signed for 2 more Spider-Man films. Now, I'm going to be very clear on this. I don't know if it's a contract on the MCU side or is it a contract from Sony side. If it's from Disney, that contract could be null and void, which means he could, that contract could be like this. It's gone. But if it's on Sony's side, which I'm pretty sure is on Sony's side, then he's pretty much safe. He's going to be Spider-Man for at least 2 more films, which by the way will make him the longest person to ever play the character, and that's including the Avenger films. I'm talking about the 2 movies and 2 Avenger films. That'd be 4. Like, for the longest person to play Spider-Man that was on record was actually Tobey Maguire. He did 3. But Holland, he already been in 2 Spider-Man films, plus he's also been in 2 Avenger films, which means he had reprised this role 4 times, making the longest tenure already, and this will further cement that with the other 2 Spider-Man films if he is signed with Sony. I think he's signed with Sony. I think he's going to be back. The thing is not with him, though. It's everybody else. If they pull Spider-Man, will the cast that they was work with will go along with him? Or do they have to recast Aunt May? Do they have to recast Mary Jane? Do they have to recast the whole cast? What about J.K. Simmons? Which, by the way, with spoiler, he was actually in this film. So they recast him, which I think will be the most worst decision you could possibly have. So these are the things that is concerning. Another concerning why I say they may have to reboot the whole series again is because now that you take him out of the MCU, any story or plotline that was done that was originally set up for that film is gone. There's no way they can actually continue from that storyline. So you have no choice but to reboot the series, which will bring even more confusion. Even worse than what they did with Batman. Yeah, they actually rebooted Batman doing the whole series. You look at the Tim Burton films, from Batman and Batman Returns to the Joel Schumacher films, from Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, it's not even the same. Yeah, they have some of the same returning cast, but it's not the same Batman. Not even close. So there's a whole lot of problems there with that. There's a whole lot of issues that has to be dealt with. And I think Sony needs to realize that by pulling them, they're going to have that issue. And fans are not going to take lightly to these issues. Now, do I think Sony is incapable of making a good Spider-Man film? I think they have the capability of making a good Spider-Man film. Hey, one of the most memorable Spider-Man films, Spider-Man 2. I love Spider-Man 2. I love the first one. I think from chemistry-wise, from an acting point of view, I thought Spider-Man 2 had something going with the two lead actors. My problem is the story structure, which seems to be an issue even now. Let's face facts here. Even though Venom was a huge success, it was due to curiosity. It wasn't due that they felt the film that the rating was great. It really wasn't. If you look at their ratings both from the critics and the audience, it's pretty much near the same. The critics negative. It was on a negative. You have the moviegoers mixed to negative. So yeah, there's a lot to be worked about in terms of what they want to do. Now on the bright side, and I'll say there is a bright side to it. They do have good things I actually like. Venom 2 has Andy Serkis on board. That's actually a good thing. I like to see what he has to do in his directorial vision. It'd be interesting to see what he has in plan. And 2, they can make a good Spider-Man film. And frankly, I don't mind seeing a standalone Spider-Man film. Just him, his adventures, him dealing with everything else. I wouldn't mind going back to that. I really wouldn't. But like I said, they're gonna have to hit a home run if they're gonna do this, and they are dead set on making their own universe. They better hit a home run the first try. This next Spider-Man film better and please everybody. It better get people talking, because if they keep making that same mistake, and you know what the mistakes they made, they may never recover from that. People will not have confidence in them making a good Spider-Man again. They won't. So we'll wait and see what happens. Personally, I think it's bad. Yeah, from business point of view, it's messed up. But I can't say I'm not surprised, because again, Sony never wanted to work with them to begin with, and the only reason why they end up working with them is because they needed to buy some time to get their act together after what was the disaster of Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. They have lost a lot of confidence in making a Spider-Man film. They need to get that back. Have they earned that back? I don't know. It's going to be very hard to see. But I'd like to hear your opinion about this. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Leave your comments below. I'd like to hear especially for those who are Spider-Man fans or MCU fans, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Let's talk about some James Bond. 007 finally got a title. I actually think it's a good title. And from the perspective, it got people talking again about 007. And I'm happy about that. I'm very, very happy about that. First things first, I made a video, or an audio in this case, about my feelings towards people freaking out about hearing that a black woman was taking on the role as 007. People would say, oh, Bond went woke, this is a disaster, this proves that the SJW has lost their mind, Hollywood's lost their mind, and the first thing I'm saying to myself, people need to calm down, need to relax, need to understand that there's no way in hell they were going to replace Bond with a female character. It was no way it's going to happen. And that if people would actually just think about it, and think about how they made these Bond films with Daniel Craig, in many ways, if this was a new 007, it would make sense that it would be a new 007, because again, if you remember Spectre, he left MI6. He went with his new love into the sunset. That's how they ended that movie. him leaving MI6. And it was done by design because wasn't too sure if Daniel Craig was going to come back to do one more Bond. This would have been a perfect opportunity to introduce a different Bond, which they were actually doing a search before they actually convinced Daniel Craig to come back for one more Bond. But Spectre, they actually ended it that way with him leaving MI6. Pretty much, saying, hey, this may be Daniel Craig's last film. He went to the sunset. Now let's put a new actor there that will take his place. That didn't happen. Craig is back. So now they have to find a way to bring him back into the fold. But it makes sense for them to cast a new Bond. I don't see how people will get upset about that. Especially when they need it, especially when they're moving forward. MI6 ain't gonna wait for James Bond to come back. Oh, we're gonna hold his 007 status until he decides to come out of retirement. No. M's gonna say, okay, well, he retired. Who else deserves the 00 number? And so, knowing that, I was looking forward for it. I felt this was actually a good thing. Give us something new to talk about. Give us something new to the Bond films that I haven't seen before. And now that the synopsis has finally came out about this movie, and some of the behind the scenes about this movie, now it's been confirmed that years has passed and that Bond has been pretty much retired. According to the synopsis, Felix Leiter, once again played by Jeffrey Wright, great choice to bring him back, ask him for his help into trying to capture some doctor scientist, which literally leads him to his next adventure. It was Felix that brought him back in the game. So this makes sense to me that the stuff they was doing was admirable in many ways. I didn't look at it as, oh my God, this SJW movement is getting on my nerves. I look at it as, interesting. So if anything, this new 007 will put a new dynamic, and I'm kind of curious on how Bond is going to react to this new 007 and how he's going to end up returning as 007. You know he's going to come back as 007. But for now, it brings a new storyline that we have not seen before from a 007 movie. And it drove me nuts that people immediately went off the deep rails without actually thinking. I'm pretty sure those who have seen the movie, those who have watched the last film, knows what happened and pretty much figured out that, okay, this is part of the storyline. Bond has been gone for a while. But a lot of people just immediately considered, oh, they just replaced for a woman. And I'm like, not possible. Considering that they're still looking for a male lead to take Daniel Craig's place once this film is done. So I made this video. I had it done. I had it put in the archives of my computer so I can, do some final touches. And then I heard some news that was going to break, and I said, let me put this on hold. I already got Entertainment Roundup. I did the Comic Book Talk 360. I'm doing this. So I probably will add this here if the news actually break. If not, then I'll just put this as a weekend thing and move on. Luckily, news broke, and they talk about the title and the synopsis. Now, first, let me talk about the title. No Time to Die is the title of this movie. I think this is one of the better titles that I've heard in a long time. The titles it really does say a lot about what Bond is, and I'm actually liking the font, and I'm actually liking the way it actually matched well with the universe that is 007. We didn't have a real, iffy title that has a lot of people buzzing and talking about. And keep in mind, there was a whole lot of titles that many people was guessing about from the very beginning, and the Broccoli family said no, that's not it. There's another title that I even heard of, which made no sense. And I said that gotta be something that people just throwing out there because that makes no sense, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the news of a woman playing 007. But No Time to Die actually definitely sounds like a Bond title. It definitely sounds like that. And many people was actually was comparing it to the Bond movies that actually has died in the word. I think the first one came out during the Roger Moore era, Live and Let Die. Tomorrow Never Dies with Pierce Brosnan, along with Die Another Day. So this is actually what I believe 1, 2, 3, like the fourth one that has died in that title. So again, this is actually an interesting title, and we also got a release date finally. This marks the first Bond film, and it's actually a historical moment also too, because it's coming out in April and not November, which means this will mark the first Bond film not released in the holidays since License to Kill. License to Kill was the last spring/summer blockbuster film released during that time period. Every other film from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig has been released in November. That is amazing. That is simply amazing. Every last Bond film was released during the November or October, depending on what region you was in. But not a single Bond film have ever made the summer hit until now. So the fact that you have a Bond film coming out in April, it hasn't been a Bond film came out in that time frame since so long, really shows how far-fetched the film is coming out. Now, personally, I'm being honest with you, I would have kept it in November, but I think they wanted to mix it up because, one, I think, A, there probably is not much going on in April, and B, the last Bond film, Spectre, didn't do well in November. If you look at the Bond's financial records, and I was kind of surprised nobody mentioned this in any of the entertainment media. Bond in North America bombed, and bombed hard. They failed to recoup the money in North America. However, everywhere else it was a huge success. If you were to take away the international ticket sales, Bond didn't do good at all in the U.S. So I think that's one of the major reasons why I think they are moving it out from that spot for the time being. I could be wrong, but but the last time they did that, when they moved it away from one particular spot, is when a Bond film underperformed. Hence, Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton's first outing only made almost $89 million, and the second Bond outing underperformed due to the fact there was too much competition. And of course, you had that hiatus, and they decided to release every Bond during the holiday season where there's not much going on. So 2020 will be the new Bond film, No Time to Die. Now the synopsis pretty much covers everything that I just mentioned earlier. Bond, it's been years since Bond has been on assignment. He's relaxing in Jamaica. According to the synopsis, Felix Leiter has asked for his help to find some scientists, and it leads to his next adventure, this mysterious villain. There actually been some behind-the-scenes footage of him in Jamaica, and it looks interesting. We haven't seen anything else. There has not been an official trailer, and I don't expect a trailer to come out until at least around the fall of this year. I do not see a trailer coming out next week, but it does look like they're finally moving forward. And to me, for the first time in almost 2 years, people are talking about James Bond, and in a good way. That's a good thing. Let's be realistic here. One of the things that was a blessing for Bond was that people was freaking out about Bond being placed by a woman, and I tell you why. And nobody was really talking about Bond. They were talking about John Wick. They were talking about the Avengers. Bond was not a major thought, and a lot of this had to do with the fact that they made one of the worst press conference presentations I've ever seen. When it was in the beach of Jamaica, and it felt like they was promoting a vacation to go to Jamaica rather than to actually promote the film itself. It didn't help they didn't give the title at that particular moment, but many people was not really impressed with that. To be fair, they never really had a strong press conference in a long time. I think the last time I got major buzz, and it was granted for the wrong reasons, was when Daniel Craig was introduced by Bond, and many people was just going crazy, including the media, before the film even came out. But they never really had a press conference that impressed me. They really didn't. But this one just really felt. Come on, guys, you're trying to promote a movie, and I feel like you're trying to. And I feel like I'm being, um, being encouraged to take a Jamaica vacation. Not a good sign. But finally, Bond is coming out, and I'm hoping, finally, that this will put the rest any ease about what's going on. Keep in mind, everything that was that people was talking about, going, well, yeah, we're gonna have a new 007. Yeah, she may be a female, but she's not Bond. All right, there will never be a female Bond. And keep in mind, like I said in my old video, which I'm not gonna release because I'm talking about it here, this is not the first time they talk about a female Bond. They were talking about having a female Bond in the 80s, which makes no sense. They were talking about Clint Eastwood playing Bond. They were talking about Burt Reynolds playing Bond. And most of those actors say, look, man, you need to stay male and you need to stay British. And he has been. If anything else, you just did them a favor. While you guys talking about it, it actually brought up some buzz. And I got to say, I am interested now. Now that we got a title, now that it looks like we got a synopsis, now I can say, I'm on for it. I want to see what's going on with this. I'm only concerned about this film is, besides the fact we don't really know much about the plot other than the synopsis that was given to us, my only concern is, will Daniel Craig give us a great performance? Or will Daniel Craig will pull a Sean Connery and say, I'm just in it for the money and I'm going for the motion? My gut feeling is saying no, because he had a lot of say in what this film is. Maybe that's for better, maybe that's for worse, who knows? But it seems that he is hell-bent on making this the best Bond performance he can give. And I'm on for it. If he's doing that, I am for it. Let's go. I am looking forward to see what he has to do. No more no less. What do you think about this? I actually want to hear your opinion on that. Let me know what you guys have to say. And I'm moving on to the last story, which is really originally was going to be my first story, and that is 20th Century Fox and Disney. Disney's been a very busy time slot in this video, but I wanted to talk about this because, as you guys heard, and a friend of mine, Patricia and Jim, tweeted me with this. I was not surprised when I heard about it, just scratching my head. Disney wants to reboot some of the properties that 20th Century Fox have had. Some of the names that came up was Home Alone, Cheaper by the Dozen. They are looking to reboot, even the Wimpy Kid, for reasons I do not know. I never thought that Wimpy Kid needed a reboot. They already rebooted Wimpy Kid. It didn't work out so well. Or maybe you guys may do something different. It was also reported that it's going to be on a streaming channel. And these movies are pretty much going to be not major movie releases, but for made-for-TV consumption or streaming. There's a few things that I have a problem with this. There's not really much that Disney wants to do it, but because, like I said, they own the properties now, and they are deciding a lot what can be produced and what cannot be produced, what get canceled, what gets the go-ahead. So they have that right. They own the library. They paid billions of dollars to get this library. So they are going to do whatever they can and pick the films they feel can be redeemable. That's not a problem. My problem is that what Disney is going to do will not help 20th Century Fox. It will help Disney, but I don't see it helping 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox needs to be their own entity and needs to have something that will get them out the rut they're in. There is no denying that 20th Century Fox have lost a hell of a lot of money. A lot of credibility has also been lost. They had not made good financial decisions, and it has hurt them badly, to the point where even Disney knows they're going to have to make some major changes if this is going, if they're going to stay afloat. However, taking their properties, which they took a lot of, let's be real, any comic book from properties that 20th Century Fox have, you know the MCU how it got it. So now they can't use that to rebuild themselves. You already know that they're taking films that were really was their films, their hits, their milk and honeys. Whether you like the films or not, they were successful at one point. And they're making them and not putting them with 20th Century Fox, but actually putting them on their network. So all it's going to do is help their streaming service. How are you helping Fox? How are you going to build Fox back up? Are they even interested in building Fox back up? For all we know, they could do just like they do with Maker Studio and just absorb everything. So I don't know where they're going, how they're going to fix things. The Fox needs help. And to me, taking their properties and putting them in your own catalog isn't going to help them. So that's going to hurt them, if anything. They need to be their own thing. What movies are on this lineup? We know that there's still one more X-Men film that's due to come out, but after that, I kind of doubt that they're actually going to have a strong push. I don't know where 20th Century Fox is. I don't know they plan for Disney. I know they said they got big plans, but what are these plans? Other than just hijack every last property they got. So I am kind of nervous about that. And again, there are some properties I feel that can do the reboot touch. I think Cheaper by the Dozen is actually, it's been a while. I have no mind seeing them doing it. It won't be the same because it's not going to be a movie exclusive. But Home Alone, not really. I mean, they rebooted already with Home Alone 5. And as a TV movie, not terrible, but you're not going to get the same feeling as you got from the first two. It hasn't been like that for years. And only the diehard of diehard will probably see the Home Alone if they could actually make it the way they are right at this climax of movie taste. I say that because what was good and funny then may not be good and funny now. Do we really need another Whippy Kid reboot? They already did it. It didn't work out too well. It was an absolute train wreck. I mean, as a TV series, I can see it doing well, but not as another movie. I don't see people going to see it. But all in all, despite all that, it won't be Fox anymore. I think that Disney, if they really wanted, they should hire some people, hire some executive branch, and let Fox run themselves as an independent thing, similar to what you have with the MCU as well as Lucas. I'm not saying be totally out of the blitz, but I think that the Fox need to have their own entity and be their own entity without having to worry about being sucked dry by Fox, by Disney. And for the record, they've done this before. Disney had movie companies that had ran their own division. They did this because they didn't want any of their family-friendly content to be hampered by some of their older films. The Disney name was that protected. The following movie studios they have, and you'd be surprised, is one, TriStar. Number two, Hollywood Pictures, which now is defunct. But TriStar is a dormant company. They still exist, just not as much as they used to. But these studios did exist for one primary purpose: to let them deal with older, more mature audiences, while Disney remained a family-friendly picture. And let's not forget Pixar. It's owned by Disney, but it's still their independent production. That they run their own thing. So again, I think they should do that with 20th Century Fox. Lay the groundwork, give them a blueprint, what's their mission statement, and just deal with it from there. Otherwise, if they're only going to do is just take out take out their property and leech off it one by one, then you know what? As sad as it may sound, shut down the studio. God knows I don't want that happening. But if all they see in the studio is just a way to just grab their intellectual properties and not do anything else that will benefit 20th Century Fox, then what's the point of having a studio even existing? Fox, in terms of Fox Sports and everything else, is going to still be around, because guess what? Fox Sports and Fox News is no longer affiliated with 20th Century Fox. That's still run by Murdoch. This Fox is a whole different division. So my question is, if you're not gonna help rebuild Fox to their former glory, then just absorb it. I'd rather you do that than just basically just plunder and let this be a husk of their former self. That's just my opinion. What's yours? Guys, again, thank you so much for joining me in this hour-long video. Well, it's not an hour, it's only 40-something minutes, but still, I had a lot to touch on, and this is why I wanted to do a separate thing. Keep this, as small as possible, and I have a couple more videos coming up. As for the question that I wanted to talk about, yes, flashback reviews are coming back. I actually will even tell you what movie I'm reviewing, Young Sherlock Holmes. I'm actually working on my notes on these films, and someone else will be joining me to do their review of a movie they have seen. So look for that. It may or may not be a flashback review. I gotta see what year that came out. I actually forgot what year it came out. It can't be too old, so it pretty much be a standard review. But it will not be from me. It will be from my little precious princess. If she wants to do one, and I hope you guys will give her a chance to actually tell her review and everything else. So with that being said, guys, I will keep you guys up to date. I do have an important video on my second channel. I feel that will be more appropriate than this channel, and my small little vlogs will make a return as well. Bear with me, I'm still a little rusty. I am getting into the flow, but I'm actually having fun doing it. I'm actually enjoying myself. I actually remember why I went and did these videos, and I, for one, am looking forward to continuing to share my own opinion and my own feelings on entertainment, as well as other things that is entertainment related. But until next time, guys, it's J77. Take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.